My name's Professor, this is my assistant Ditto, and we're willing to bet his life insurance fund that you've got a favorite Pokemon. Maybe you're like me and you never really grew up with the franchise outside of cards you saw and books you got to read. Or maybe you grew up watching the anime and always thought it was kinda cool. Or maybe you've played every game that looked appealing to you and are still under the assumption that Scarlet and Violet are just misunderstood masterpieces.
And I've never said anything controversial.
Whatever your take on Pokemon might be, we can all agree that the brand has universal appeal. Even someone like me, a Pokemon professor that can't stand children and finds certain aspects of the collecting side of things to be rather distasteful at times, can't help but get all warm and fuzzy looking at my favorite pocket monsters in action. I've got a few binders of various cards I've collected and are trying to sell, with one of them being marked Keep Forever and being full of cards that may not be worth anything, but I thought just looked cool. And that's the awesome thing about Pokemon. It can be enjoyed as seriously or casually as the individual wants. It really is up to you, despite what commentators on the internet might say. You can guarantee that for every single Pokemon out there, at least someone considers your favorite to be the worst thing to ever be brought to life. Meanwhile, someone else can't stop loving it like it's a lost child that's been reintroduced to the family or something. Everyone has a ride or die Pokemon, and while I've covered some in the past, I figured it would be fun to go through my little library of Pokemon I can't help but love and hate. Before we get to the list, are you tired of scrolling through social media constantly looking for the next funny thing? The truth is, you're never going to find what you're looking for. The best kind of entertainment comes from media that people have been enjoying for thousands of years. I'm talking books, specifically my trilogy that I wrote as a joke for my blossoming audience. President Troll and the Assault on America is a parody of anime tropes, adventure films, and isn't political in any way. Pick up a copy today. The first two books are available on Amazon right now in paperback, hardcover, and even through Kindle Unlimited. The link is in the description, and every sale of one of my books helps fund the channel when YouTube won't. It's a one-time purchase for a lifetime of laughs. Back to the video. Let's start with Pokemon I enjoy. There are creatures that, for a number of reasons, just always scratch that one itch. Like Shuppet, for example. Not only is this thing cute and simple, it's just the right amount of spooky to make me think twice about saying, I would totally hug that if it was real. To quote the Pokedex selectively to support my biased opinion, do be a little vengeful guy, my dude. Shuppet are known to respond to emotion, much like React channels or people looking for attention. They feed on malice and vengeance, while literally hiding in your walls. Also, it's not happy to see you. That's literally a horn coming out of the top of its head. Don't ask me why it has one. I'm not brave enough to ask. It's scary. The reason I like this Pokemon so much is because in one of the rare times a friend let me play his version of Pokemon Soul Silver, I caught a random Shuppet that managed to get me out of a few battles that I just didn't know how to win. I've also seen some incredible cosplayers recreate this Pokemon in the form of a lamp or a sock puppet, and much like WD-40, somehow it works. But this isn't the only ghost-type Pokemon that just checks all the right boxes. Introducing Chandelure, a Pokemon that a lot of people seem to be falling in love with these days. You've probably seen the famous Chandelure lamp that's making the rounds on social media. While this is beautiful and cool, I will fully admit my admiration for this ghost in the lampshade is due to Pokémon Go. You see, to evolve certain Pokemon, you need candies. Sometimes it's hardly any, other times it's a modest amount, and other times,
what the junk is this?
Chandelure is not one of the spend the next 8 years of your life trying to get me kinds, but it does still require around 100 candies. For me, this Pokemon took a hot minute to finally unlock, and when I did finally get it, I just couldn't stop showing it off. It felt like such an awesome achievement, and the payoff was worth it. I mean, look at it. I have to mention the shiny here, because sweet Arceus's golden rings, this is an S++ shiny. It's actually fire. But speaking of shinies in Pokemon Go, I recently acquired this absolute beauty. This is a blue T-Rex, bite me. I'm not going to go over all the reasons why T-Rex is the coolest dinosaur ever, chew my toenails. No, I'm just going to gush over how well Pokemon turned an already iconic design for one of the Earth's most iconic characters to ever chomp and stomp into something even cooler. The spiked frill thing on the back of this dude's neck, amazing. The scale design on its legs, flawless. And if you're wondering why I haven't mentioned this Pokemon's name yet, it's because despite having Bulbapedia open on the screen right next to the script I'm reading, I could not be bothered. Still love this Pokemon's design though. Red and blue for the regular and shinies. It's a brilliant move. And speaking of brilliant, let's talk about the one thing that's even cooler than dinosaurs: dragons. Pokemon's got a lot of them. Some cool and some are goomy, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Charizard may be the face of dragons in Pokemon, but there are few dragons that make me want to jump out of my seat and go flying like Salamence and Garchomp do. Garchomp was the scariest and coolest dragon that ever terrified us, and I know for a fact has brought so many Nuzlocke runs to a terrible close. And for that reason, I always thought it was a great idea to fight fire with fire, or in this case, dragon with dragon, as it is weak to itself. Garchomp is a flying, ground-using, hammerhead kinda looking, flame-spitting, supersonic speed flying big G that drinks the tears of its enemies and chews bike locks. It eats your school bully for breakfast and has the most beautiful champion trainer ever right behind Hiker. While its mega is a little strange, Garchomp has stayed relevant ever since its debut, due to just how awesome it is at being awesome, and for that, I can't help but love it. The same can't be said for the dragon I grew up with, Salamence. I didn't get into Pokemon until Gen 3, and for that reason, Salamence was my Charizard for a number of years. While nowhere near as popular as Garchomp, it always looked so cool, roaring and soaring through the sky, while being a complete hazard to its trainer, something I'm well aware of. And apparently it's based on the character of Devilman, which is so metal, it's putting too much iron in my blood, Magneto. The red axe-shaped wings, combined with its inspiring backstory of saying "screw you" to nature and just sprouting a pair of wings, makes this Pokemon one of my all-time favorites. I even made an entire video about how cool and unique it is. And let's not forget that Salamence loves flying so much that in the official games, its sprite refuses to touch the ground unless you tell it to. That's commitment to the bit right there. But as cool as those Pokemon I mentioned are, there's one that sits above the rest. A monster of biblical proportions, so terrifying that the ocean itself quakes before it. The ocean is scared of this Pokemon. Arguably one of the most unique designed Pokemons to ever come out. I'm talking about the not-so-jolly red giant, Groudon. I'm the world's biggest Orca fan, and I still choose Groudon over Kyogre every time. It's a literal force of nature that is so terrifying, the Sky Dragon of all Sky Dragons has to step in to get it to calm down. It's one of the few Pokemon that can naturally Mega Evolve without a trainer. Let me say that again, okay, in case you missed it. It can Mega Evolve without a trainer. That's literally the whole point of Mega Evolutions. And this thing says, nah, it'll be fine. It's iconic, and I love it. And it's red, spiky, we have Godzilla at home, and he fits in your pocket. But what are some Pokemon that you like or dislike? Let me know below. If I get enough comments, I might make another one of these. And remember, if you want something that's going to fill the hole in your heart, pick up a copy of President Troll and the Assault on America. It's a lot easier than scrolling for hours and hours and hours on end and having nothing to show for it. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.